Hello, everybody, and welcome to Quantum Leap Revisited, a show that we do once a week where we revisit one of the greatest sci fi shows of all time, Quantum Leap, the show that ran from 1989 to 1993, starring Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell. This week, we're going to be talking about the episode Permanent Wave, which is the season 4, episode 5 episode. And as usual, I have a wonderful panel of gentlemen here with me. First of all, you, of course, probably know him by now, but it's Ro from the Sacrif Podcast. Ro is a broadcast news veteran. He also has a lot of knowledge when it comes to the technical side of production from behind the scenes, and he has his own podcast called the Sacrif Podcast, which you can hear on any streaming platform that has podcasts like Amazon and Apple and Spotify and wherever there's podcasts. And he has his own YouTube channel too. In addition to all of that, he's also the co-founder of the Red 5 Network. How's it going, Ro?
It's going fantastic. Good to be here.
Yes, I think I finally got your intro down. I thought it was a decent intro.
Yes,
I did my best, at least.
proud of you. Proud of you.
And then, of course, we have the Script Doctor. Script Doctor is a veteran screenwriter. He has his own Patreon where he teaches screenwriting. In addition to that, he hosts a weekly show called Scripts on Saturdays. It's every Saturday on his YouTube channel, The Script Doctor, every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And on that show, he evaluates, along with a guest, a script that Hollywood studios right now are either considering for a green light, or maybe they've even done a green light on it. And or maybe they haven't, but they have recently been considering it for a green light. So in any case, great stuff from Script Doctor himself. How's it going, Script?
It's going quite well where I am. I'm happy to be here this evening, especially to discuss this episode with you gentlemen, and looking forward to the reactions in the chat for today's episode.
Yeah, it's always great to have the people here in the chat, and I see some of our regulars here, whether it be Tex Rogers or Ron Donofero, Rob Nutskubla, Super Mario Brothers 3, Caleb Levine, Marla Sharandoff, just to name a few. And it's always nice to see you guys here. So, yeah, we can dive deep into this episode. I guess before I start bringing it up, this was an episode he leapt into a hairstylist. It's a 1980.
Three.
Three. And he looks very much like a 1983 type of hairstylist, I suppose.
Leather pants, Jerry curl.
Jerry curl, yeah. It's funny. I wish they did one reference to the one pop culture reference. They gave the kid a Rubik's Cube, but I feel like they should have done a little more, especially in this era. I think it was a fun era, and I think maybe throughout the whole thing, I don't see that they've done. It wasn't. We'll get into it. It wasn't as fun as usual with the references to the time period, I would say. And then I think the 80s would have been. I mean, this would have been a ripe way to kind of inject some of those pop culture references other than just a Rubik's Cube.
Yep.
Yeah, I would agree. The 80s had the 80s was a very strong generation like the 70s, and it was more techy and wave of the future and all that type of stuff. But yeah, they missed some opportunities, but I guess because this was a very tight type of story and tight situation, they didn't want to dwell on too much. But yeah, it was this isn't the first time we're in the 80s, but this was a less 80s looking episode.
Yeah, I mean the subject matter, the story was a little on the heavy side too, so I think maybe the juxtaposition between the 80s stuff might have not fit, but they should have maybe, I don't know, changed the year, or I don't know, something. But yeah, definitely missed opportunities there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that they really invested in creating an 80s vibe here. I think that aside from the way he looks and dresses, maybe, there wasn't a heavy 80s vibe.
Not at all.
Which is surprising, because this show, a lot of times, I think that it actually does pay attention to those little details.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was an episode that they kind of just rushed through.
Well, it's interesting. Before we started, we were talking about who directed this, and I guess Script was saying that this was the first time directed by Scott Bakula. So
Hmm.
I don't know. Growing Pains. I don't know what the situation was.
Caleb Levine says, seeing that the show was in the 90s, they didn't realize how cool the 80s were. That's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah.
I actually like this comment because today, when we think of the 80s, it's been a number of decades since then. So we're thinking about all the experiences of the 80s. But when you're in the early 90s and you're doing something in the 80s, you don't really have that perspective of how things were in the 80s.
Damn it! I lived the '80s. I knew there was cool then.
Yeah, so do I.
I did too. I did too.
So there
I
you
agree
go.
with both of you, but I think that
I knew the 90s were lame as soon as hot pink became a color that guys chose to wear. I'm like, what? No.
I mean, the 90s had some stuff that was good. I liked sort of grunge music. There were things that I did like in the 90s, but the 80s had a lot of character. For good and for bad, they were over the top and sometimes, could be even a bit cheesy, but there was a lot of character in the 80s, I think.
Absolutely.
And it's certainly, we don't really get a lot of that in this episode, but I really like Caleb Levine's comment because I think that there's truth to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The dead man, it's NBC. They could have been watching Cheers. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Again, it's just a missed opportunity there.
It is a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
The dead man, the 80s had really good cartoons. Yeah, but in any case, let me pull up the episode.
Okay.
Let me. I have to share the screen, and yes, I know you like to embiggen it, Ro.
Mm-hmm.
I've been really nice. I haven't said the quote that I used to say. Did you notice? That's like a sign of respect. I just figured, like, I won't say it anymore. It was funny, though.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of its own humor.
Yeah.
In any case, so we're here, and it's the beginning of the episode, and of course, the opening that we know and like. He's leapt into this hairstylist, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt is there, and he's like, I'm going to go to the pharmacy next door to get candy, or I don't know what he says. And then
he did pretty well. Obviously we know him from other stuff, but this is one of his early works. And he did rather well as a little actor.
You know what? He was perfectly fine. Sometimes you have kids that are good child actors, and I think that he seems like the Joseph Gordon-Levitt that we would know from different periods of times. And
yeah, he's playing a 9-year-old here, so like he's
it's
not. I think he was 10 or 11. I think he was older. Can't remember.
Yeah.
He does a good job. I think I agree with you, Ro.
Yeah.
So then he goes, well, where'd you go? And he goes, I sent him to Phil. You sent him to Phil's? Don't you know that your friend Lauren said that you couldn't take her there? And then the thing starts. Oh, there's gunshots. And then the thing starts. I don't think that that's the way she sounded, but sometimes I have to do like a stock voice.
I said that's how we heard it.
and then I was close enough. Not as good as Script Doctor doing Kennedy, but certainly close enough. Hold on. Okay. So then he goes in. There's somebody shooting, and then he goes in and he takes him out of there. I don't know. He moves him. And then by the time Sam gets up and kind of goes outside, the shooter's gone.
Shooter's gone, and he's lost in Beverly Hills. Well, poor Phil, oddly enough named Phil Hartman, which is really tragic.
Yeah, that was kind of spooky. I do you think that initially it was kind of a tip of the hat to the real Phil Hartman?
I don't. Well, I mean, he'd already been a prominent member of Saturday Night Live at this point because he was from the 80s to the early 90s. He was
right.
There. Maybe there's someone in the writers' room of production that was friends with Phil Hartman because he was a legendary writer, not just with comedy but also with screenwriting. He wrote Pee-wee's Big Playhouse or Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Sorry.
That's what I'm saying. That I almost feels like it was like a tip of the hat. It could be a coincidence, but because Phil Hartman was already a name at that time, that I think that these industry people would have known. The
Mhm.
fact that they called the guy Phil Hartman when I was watching it, I thought to myself, this was probably like a wink, wink to Phil Hartman. Could be wrong, but
Yeah.
And
Leela Ivy. I don't remember these. I mean, I didn't really recognize them from other places. Doran Clark. I don't know. Leela Ivy. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is
Yeah,
actually
he's
the
the
person.
only. Yeah, he's the
Oh.
only name that we recognize.
Right, he's the only star here.
Mhm.
Yep.
Harry Groner.
well, the other
yeah.
guy who plays the cop who we'll see later,
Right.
he's a character actor. He was huge on Buffy for a few seasons, and
Mhm. He's been on.
he's
He's
done
been
Star
on Star
Trek
Trek.
and other
Yeah,
shows. Yeah,
with less hair, but
yeah. But no, but
Right.
Harry Groner's a great character actor.
mhm.
All right, fair enough.
Well, he's done like over 100 things, so like he knows how to work.
Yeah.
For sure. No, and he was good. He was good in that role. Then Lauren, what's her name? Laura? I'm going to go with Laura. She arrives. It was written by Beverly Bridges. And it was, of course, directed by Scott Bakula.
Yeah.
Which would probably be the first episode that he ever directed, I assume, right?
Yes, this is the first of the 3. And there are some points in this show where you can tell he's a
First
Rookie.
time director.
the tone changes drastically. But yeah. So he's
Interesting.
got this he's owner of this high class salon, and he's got this girlfriend that he's been dating for I think like a year. So yeah. Well, we find out later that her husband was murdered 3 years prior.
Sal.
When
Yeah.
they lived in New Jersey. And this one is more of like a personal aspect too. I always think it's kind of odd when a widow hooks up with another guy within 5 years after losing their spouse. It's just kind of weird because it's almost like, you know, you're rushing for security as opposed to really looking for love. Because I know a couple of guys who got married to young widows, and then they would get divorced pretty quickly afterwards because it wasn't.
There's another issue here that another elephant in the room, that basically if I'm this hairstylist and the way all the ladies, all the hottest ladies are all over him, I don't know that I'm looking, if I'm like this chic guy but I'm hanging out with all the ladies in the 80s, I don't think that rhymed. I don't think that I'm actually dating this widow and her boy.
Right.
I'm not being mean. It's not me as like Price of Reason. I'm saying I'm imagining the type of guy that Sam has leapt into and how the ladies are all treating him during this episode.
Mhm.
And it feels almost like a paradox of sorts that this would be the lady that he's been living with for a year along with her son. It's not impossible. It just doesn't exactly ring true based on the setting of where he works, his curly hair and his whole demeanor and everything.
His leather pants.
Yeah, there's something here that I feel like wasn't well thought out. And that is not Scott Bakula's fault. That I would say it's the writing. So I'm going to go to Beverly Bridgers or whatever her name is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think maybe Beverly Bridges was thinking like, oh, I really wish this owner of the hair salon who I fawn over would look at me the way he looks at the other ladies. And what if I write a guy that is the type of guy I wish he was?
Right. It was her own personal fantasy, like, Harlequin novel inside
Write what you know. Write what you know.
Yeah.
Right. What you know. I guess so. Yeah. So that appears to be the situation. In any case, this other lady, her name I think is Chloe.
Yep.
And then the police guy arrives. He's like, hey, what's up? I want to hear more about what you see in the pharmacy. And then he's like, when do you live? And he's like, oh, I can't remember. He gives him his card. And then he's trying to remember. He doesn't know where he lives, so he's trying to find his own wallet. At first, he's also asking,
where you live?
Yeah, and there's also, does he ask him here about the kid?
Yeah, he says, does the kid see anything? He's like, I don't know, but he's with his mother,
Well, I'm gonna need your address. I gotta talk to you. I mean, honestly, this guy, like, you just look at him and he talks, and he's already the most suspicious guy, like within a 5-mile radius, just like with the mustache. And yeah, give me your address. Let me see where I can go. Like the whole thing is suspicious.
Well, I mean, he's a
Sure.
cop. He does have the badge. It is revealed, and he does give him the card to the police station for the number, and
Yes,
everything looks above board. But it's just his eagerness.
Right.
right. There's something about the way if the actor, they chose an actor that has this vibe that there's already something fishy about him, and the actor himself, he's not. Is this the Harry Groener guy?
Yeah.
He's a good actor, but you can tell that he didn't. He knew that he was like a fishy guy, and he presented it that way. Meaning, and maybe this is also a Scott Bakula thing. I think the guy should have been like a lot more supposedly nice, but not eager. You know what I mean? Like somehow, once he already comes out of the gate, like right out the gate, he's this way. Already a red flag on the guy.
Mm-hmm.
For
Yeah, I
me.
can see that. I can see that. Like
Like
maybe he
it-
should have played it a little bit more. What do you call it? More down to earth, safe, professional, and
He
Yes.
should have had a
less-
fellow cop with him as support. That would have also.
Yeah,
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
If there was somehow a way to improve the writing and the way this actor was directed, I think that he's a good actor. I just don't think that somehow it wasn't probably presented in the best way if they were trying to remove suspicion from him.
Mm-hmm.
I actually, when I saw it, I'm like, maybe it'll be a red herring that he's so suspicious,
Right.
initially, and then when I rewatched, whenever I did, I have seen this already in recent years, but when I rewatched it, I again noticed how, kind of obvious. In any
Right.
case, he's like, yeah, this is my address. Oh, sorry, yes, this is my address here. Yeah, okay. I don't know,
So
what does
you
he
live
say?
upstairs.
He lives upstairs. He's flustered because the shooting.
And this is a
Oh, right, he
reference
lives
to-
upstairs. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this
This
is a
is the part-
reference to
This is probably my favorite part of the episode. They do like a Future Boy reenactment. He's like, Captain Galaxy and Future Boy. I kind of like this. What do you guys think?
It was
Yeah, it
all
gave
right.
it-
It was a good callback to a
Yeah.
previous episode. The Al appearing there was really well done. Because you
Was-
don't see him at all, so he just kind of
Mhm.
just hanging out in the corner,
Yeah.
and it was a good reveal.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the most cost-effective reveal we've ever seen of Al. They just kind of spun the camera and he's there, but it works.
Sure. Yeah. Little sound effect. He's there.
And then I think at this point, he's still not trying to get the information out of him. He's just telling him a story. He's
Right.
like, Mommy can tell me a story too, or something like that. Sorry, I'm paraphrasing. I
And
mean,
then
she is
Mommy
cute,
comes
this
in.
mother. I don't
Oh yeah,
know.
she's just out of the shower.
No, I don't dislike this actress and how she looks. I mean, I can understand why somebody would like her. I just think that the guy that Sam leapt into just doesn't seem like a candidate for this. But
No, and the other part too, which I thought was kind of strange, is that he's been there. It's still the same day, and yet he's got this very kind of like fatherly intimacy with the kid already. Like it's already been established,
Right.
and they have like this history, which is kind of weird how quickly he was able to pull that off. Because all the other times he's been with kids, it's been a struggle.
well, actually, there's people here saying I thought the kid should be able to see Al. They say it's little kids. I don't know at what age it's considered not little anymore.
I think it's like
But-
5 and under.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
thought
they
about him.
explain it a little bit too.
Did they actually mention that he doesn't see him?
Yeah.
They explain
Oh,
it.
okay.
I think Al says, "Oh, if only you were a little younger, you'd be able to see me and see my."
Can you hear me? No, you can't hear me. Like he does that type of stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then,
This was a pretty good reflection technique as well.
Yeah.
yeah, I thought that was done pretty well. No,
Yeah.
this is really good, actually, that it
Yeah.
goes back and forth.
Hmm.
I think that's really good.
Yeah, timed out really nice.
And is this the part that Al already knows that they're both going to die, or it's
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I
tells them
think
both
he already
gonna
said
die
it,
once
yeah.
the kid's found on the way to Arrowhead, and the wife is never, or the mother is never found.
And he's like, "What's an Arrowhead?" And he's like, "Well, Frank had a cabin there, and he was going to take them there." And
I
then,
guess to lay low. Yeah.
and then, I guess, what's the plan here? What do they?
The plan is really just find the killer so that those two can live a life because they die in the next 48 hours. So that's what he's got to do. He's got to convince her to go to the police in the next 48 hours so that they can find this killer.
I thought that this Al leaving is good. I feel like at this point in the show, they've really nailed the idea of Al arriving, Al leaving, the mirrors. Most of the time, most of the time, I think they get it pretty right. I mean, there's never 100%, but considering where I think we started with, I think that there seems to be a flow now that they seem to always get those pretty much correct.
Yeah, I agree.
I do feel like they don't make Al go through stuff as much, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, that changes this episode,
So the mother is here, and is this the part that she's like, I don't want to go through that again with Sal that died. He testified, and then he died.
Well, he was about to testify, and they killed him.
He was about to testify, and they killed him. You're so great. Then he's like here at the thing, and there's this lady here, and he doesn't know what he's doing because he's not a real barber. And Al's like, come on, Sam, you got to snip.
You just cut.
Cut,
he does
snip,
two
snip.
little cuts and says, well...
Why mess with perfection? Yeah.
Right. That was actually good.
You hardly did anything. Well, why mess with perfection? Oh, you're so right.
So she doesn't have to pay, obviously.
Right. And then she's like, are you still with a girlfriend? Oh. And that's, again, all these ladies throwing himself at him. If that's the way the guy's life is, and he's dressed with this leather stuff, and he's this big-time barber, I just feel like that. I'm not saying he couldn't go for a widow with a kid.
Maybe it is love.
Maybe it's true love. I'm just saying that somehow it's not built in a way that I'm fully convinced. But yeah, so Chloe comes out and she's like, "Hey, what did you do? What did you do with this? What happened to the color and the what did you do to all these chemicals?" And then the Doublemint twins or whatever it is show up. And then what?
Look it up, chat.
Yeah, the Doublemint twins show up, and what does Sam do? Well, he teases Al for the next few minutes.
I found this a little odd because Sam has never done this, even in jest, and I think it went on a little longer than normal just to tease Al.
I almost feel like Scott Bakula himself came up with this idea, and this amused him and Dean Stockwell or something. It almost feels like something, almost like an inside joke or something, that they did this because really Scott Bakula seems to be having more fun than usual doing this. Maybe because he directed the episode. I don't know.
You got to put Ron's comment in there at 9:30p. Sam was embiggened. Yes, he was. Too funny.
And the ladies decided that bigger is necessarily better.
Yeah, they did get the straight tie correct, so that's good to see.
Like the one thing they got, yeah. So at this point, Sam is all flirty with him. And he's like, why don't we go to the inside to the room and unrobe, and it'll be so great, and we'll do something nasty to your hair. And then he's like, aha, see? And he's like, what's he saying here? He's like, I gave you what you wanted. And he's like, you're tormenting me.
But what was the purpose of that, though?
I don't know. I did like the idea. There was another little callback that he's like, I feel like some of me is still left inside of you because from the leaping.
Yeah.
That was an interesting thing. I mean, if they wanted to go in that direction, that would have been interesting. I just it was just a little sort of strange callback, but it doesn't really go anywhere.
Yeah, and it's funny because didn't we talk about that a couple of weeks ago regarding Al kind of still being in Sam and the fact that it would have been interesting to kind of every so often see a little bit of that character kind of pop up in Sam. It doesn't see it. This might seem like they wanted to try that, but they didn't stick to the landing because I don't know. Again, I haven't seen the rest of the series, but it doesn't seem like they'll go in that direction anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really know. It was a little bit of a reference. I like references, but beyond that, I'm even impressed that they even have any kind of reference because of the syndication and the episodic nature, TV serial nature of this show.
Right.
That Al would even bring that up is kind of interesting. But they just did it they did it in a way that even if you don't understand what Al is saying, it doesn't take away from the episode.
Right.
Which is probably what they intended. So then, remind me here what happens. He's trying to get the info out of Kyle, which is
what the guy looks like. Yeah.
It's like, hey, do you want to tell me what the guy is? Can you remember anything about him? And
question.
I'm
wondering if the child actor actually needed the brace, or did the story need the brace? Because he could have done the same thing without the brace and just run away because he's a child, right? Later on,
well,
when he gets chased.
the brace was there for the climax because of what happens to the kid when we get there.
Like a sympathy thing?
Yeah, sympathy thing, and also to make it a lot harder for him to get away.
Right. Okay, yeah, because he goes
and also makes it a bit
door.
more specific too, because it's part of the story, which is how many kids have a leg brace in Beverly Hills at this time in this neighborhood, and so it really pigeonholes that Kyle is the only possible witness. He can't hide among children because he's got that leg brace.
All right. Hashtag plot hole.
So I think at this point he's like, well, he was white and is that the part?
No,
he has money.
This is later. Later is the white and the money stuff. That's
money. That's later.
Yep.
I can't remember. I closed my eyes. I don't know what he says.
Much.
And then she looks at him because she's unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
This is her angry face. Sam, but what does he say to him?
I can't remember what he says here. It wasn't really impactful. It's just more like repeating. You got to get her to tell the kid to go to the cops because
maybe you should go to the cops, Sam.
Yeah, something like that.
and then he talks to the cop and he's like, "Yeah, hey, when the kid remembers." Then
this is when obviously you start thinking something's up with the cop because he's too pushy.
Oh, well, this is where where Al realizes that Phil was actually he was in debt, and I guess he was selling drugs on the side to get out of his debt because he declared bankruptcy and then paid back with interest.
Right. Where does he figure this part out? How do they figure
it out? Outside? And then that's when we see Sam with the cop telling him the information that he knows about what is it, Epoch or whatever it is.
Okay, Epoch, Eloc, or something like that. And then basically. I think that I don't know at what point the kid remembered that he said, "I ain't taking your junky money" or something like that.
Yeah, that's later. That's when they're in the home.
Oh, okay. So here she arrives.
There's some memberships being given out.
Oh,
very nice.
Ron Donofero, thank you so much. Ron Donofero has gifted 5 Price of Reason Live memberships, and then some. Very lucky people are going to
Disneyland. Oh no.
I see a few people that already got it. I see they got the gifts. Thank you, Ron Donofero. Really, really nice of you. I appreciate that. Let me see. We were in this thing. Yeah. I feel like, remind me here, okay, so this lady comes over, this Chloe, and then there's a gunshot.
Yeah.
And she gets like a flesh wound.
Yeah, she gets grazed in the back of the neck.
And Malachi in the chat is asking who is the shooter aiming for, and I assume it was the kid because he's the one that supposedly saw
line of sight. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he missed the kid, grazed the woman.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Al did take a while to relocate himself to where the shot came from, though. Like he's just kind of there for a minute. It's like, come on, Al, you can be anywhere. You can see parts of the world here that Sam can't. So, just go across the street, see if you can identify the shooter, see who's running away or whatever.
That's true. Al actually could have resolved this really quickly.
Yeah.
Plot hole number 2.
But this is where we learn, like, all he saw were shoes, that he had money in them.
Yeah.
And that he heard junkie money. And then, Chloe's trying to put it together too, and she's upset that she got shot at.
But she doesn't want to call 911. He picks up the phone and starts to dial and scolds him. This is a cool effect. I like, again, getting back to Al could be anywhere, and he could be. And I like the
lighting for
gag.
Al. The lighting for Al's composite in here was like bang on. It was really, really good.
Yeah. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I agree with you.
And then he just walks through the jewel case there.
And do they realize here that he owed money or something like that? Is that where they figure?
They already
this
know
out?
he owes money, but they're trying to find a clue that might be have missed. And Sam finds a penny over by where the shooter was.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't know what the significance is of the penny yet.
Right. And then, okay, let me share this tab instead.
Second file.
Is it sharing?
Yep.
Yes.
Anything? I'm trying to see if I missed any comments or something.
A penny saved is a penny earned. That is correct. Text.
Marla
change.
Sharendorf says I can do the Rubik's Cube in 3 minutes. That is good.
Me too. You can take the stickers off and then replace them.
Oh, you don't need to do that. There's a
200.
there's a formula that you twist, and every time you do it, it always resets it to face every.
I keep wanting to do it, and I'm like, it's not worth it.
Well, friend of the channel, Scribe Light. Good evening, Price of Reason. Hey, Script. Hey, Scarif. Have a great show. Thanks.
Thank you.
It's interesting. Scribe Light actually likes Quantum Leap like we do, and somehow to this day it hasn't worked out for him to maybe make a guest appearance here. But hopefully at some point it'll somehow work, because I think that would be interesting.
Sure, that'd be cool.
And so we're back here, and we're at the house. We have Chloe. Remind me, what does Chloe say to him here?
Oh, Chloe says that what's her name? Laura took the car and drove out to the cabin after she called the police, and Sam calls the police and finds out that's what's the case there. The cop is going to go meet him, and then he's like, "Can I borrow do you have a car?" She's like, "You help me buy my car."
Right,
Of course, I have a car. And she wants to go with him because she doesn't want Laura to die, so that she doesn't lose her 50% discount off of Armani suits. And Laura and them aren't paying attention, and she falls into a ditch but is unharmed. And so Sam and Al are thinking like, okay, so she's safe right now because
it's what's called a happy accident.
Happy accident. She's got she's 10 miles away. They're an hour away from her, and when he goes to see the cop, this is where things look different, because he's ahead of everybody, and he shouldn't be. He should be technically behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He's ahead, and then also
Al notices
notices the penny loafers, and then he's like, "Penny loafer, you pimple." I think
you're the one that's killing the kid. Yeah.
You're gonna kill that kid, and then Sam, you gotta drive quicker.
One of my favorite effects that Al does is when he materializes or appears just next to a car that's driving fast. It's such an easy effect, but it's so effective. I love it.
Yeah. And then they get picked up by a friendly, good Samaritan, drops them off at the cannon and at the cabin, and the Joseph Gordon-Levitt's like, "Thanks, dude," which is funny because I'm like, that's pretty 80s.
Right.
Marla Sharendorf says you can tell that the scenery looks like it's blue screened in. I think you're right.
That's a rear screen projector technique there, actually. So they actually shot. That's in camera footage.
Yeah, I don't think they had time. Episodic television like this doesn't have time to do all that fancy green screen
compositing. Yeah, they only had enough time to do Al when he, a couple of shots per episode. But if you can tell, because the scale is all wrong, that it's a rear projector.
So they are in front of a screen, no?
Yep, they are definitely in front of the screen. Yeah.
It's looks
not
that
a blue
way
screen
too.
or a green screen or anything. It's a traditional film screen.
Yeah, I see what you mean. They still did that kind of stuff then. Today it would be a green screen, but in
Well,
this case.
today would be the volume.
Well, I mean, it's actually always been called the volume. When they're ever going to replace the background or something, it's always called the volume. But this version of it would be the rear projector. Then you have the green and blue screen volume, and now you have the stagecraft volume, which is
stuff.
where it's a digital screen.
Right. So they arrive. The mother and the kid, with our luck, they take a hitchhike to the cabin, which is exactly what they didn't need to do. And then
And then there's no power, so they have to go check the fuse box, which weird that it's outside.
Yeah, I mean, this entire sequence is what I was mentioning, that it just seemed really choppy and off. It seemed like it was shot like on different days, and then they just kind of splice it together. The shot of the kid looking out the window, there's some repeat shots that they extended to extend, I guess, the suspense, but it just felt a little weird to me.
Yeah, I agree. The tone was also off. Like they did a huge significant music change with the tone. They're trying to hide the face of the guy that we've already been told is the bad guy, so that's kind of off.
Yeah, it's like, wait a minute, we already know who it is. Most likely,
we know who it is.
Yeah.
Maybe like the kid and the mom don't know, but that's irrelevant because they haven't met that guy in the first place anyway. So
Yeah.
And then this is it gets way more serious and way more heavy-handed drama than the other episodes have in similar light. So this was kind of weird.
Mm-hmm. And again, it's heavy because they're after the kid.
Right.
True. So this person with a silencer walks in, and then
Joseph Gordon-Levitt tries to get through the doggy door, but he's hampered by his leg brace, and then he gets caught.
Mm-hmm.
Scott's, goes there for the rescue. When he catches his would-be pseudo-son, he has to calm him down and let him know that's him.
And then
this sequence in the lake is just shot so weird.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a fake out after fake out. First of all, he's the bad guy, but then she shoots him, and they're like, "Oh, great! Like you shot him." But then it's like, "Oh no!"
Those two are apparently partners,
mm-hmm.
and I have no idea why she decided to shoot him. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense. I'll also say that the way she behaved at the beginning of the episode and the middle of the episode were ways that were completely, it's as if it's a different character. Because initially she's like, you let him go to the pharmacy? You let him do this? It's like, it seems like, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, it could be that she really didn't want the kid to go to the pharmacy, but because she didn't want him to see what was going on there or get killed. But I don't know. I mean, it's too much of a strange left turn. Like the cop, they showed you how bad he is from the first second, and with her, maybe they didn't show enough. If I were them, I would have made them both look both good and suspicious, and then you're kind of not sure if you can trust anybody. That probably would have been a better route.
Yeah.
Like I understand that this was supposed to be the big surprise. I guess. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but I feel like this probably could have been done better.
This is more of a story issue here because again, it just doesn't logically make sense why she would. Like the other guy was going to kill them anyways, and now she just shoot him, and then she's going to now shoot the other two guys. It's like no,
right.
The end result is still the same, and you have a partnership because I guess he was keeping the cops off of whatever her scheme was. He was getting a take on that, and that was their business. So they had something that was mutually useful. So there's no reason for her to betray him. Even whatever she says here, I can't remember what it was, but I'm like, that doesn't equate.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I feel like these are things that they thought will look cool, but they don't make a whole lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think that Laura pops up and hits her in the head or something.
Well, no,
she's about to, and then she doesn't. It's like out. So it's weirdly truncated.
Yeah, she passes out, and then
why even show her?
Goes underwater, grabs the gun of the cop, and shoots her.
Maybe they wanted to do kind of like an Arnold Schwarzenegger from Predator slow motion Scott Bakula coming out of the water.
Wait, Laura, what does Laura do? Does she manage to hit her on the head?
Nope,
No.
she passes out before she gets
passes out.
close
Yeah.
enough.
Why does she pass out?
Because she's been hit in the head
Reasons.
multiple times from the other guy.
Ah, I see. All right. And then does Sam shoot her?
Yep, shoots her right in the gut.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Well,
so-
now he's back here, and I guess all's
Right.
well, it ends well.
in
And
the
then at this,
cabin, yeah.
in the cabin, and then at this point, I think he proposes to her or something.
Something like
Yeah,
that.
he proposes to her and then suggests that Joseph Gordon-Levitt there learn how to swim, and gets in the Special Olympics, and then later he gets a gold medal because he has them be instructed by somebody at the YMCA as opposed to just the hairdresser.
No, I remember something vague like this. I mean, isn't Sam taking a lot of liberties here, where he's proposing? Maybe this.
Yeah, but apparently Al's telling him no, they get married. It's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
So, I will say I like this lady. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really familiar with this actress, but she is pleasant.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. She's
Bye bye, Sam. And then
yeah, that's Doran Clark. She actually retired from acting about 24 years ago.
is this the one that he? He's a victim.
Victim of
Victim of,
RA.
of an
A
assault.
victim
Yeah.
of somebody served him grape juice.
Right. He's just like not again because he's a woman, but the cop is like, wait, this a tragedy has occurred to you before?
Yeah.
Right.
That's your
That's-
oh boy moment.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's
I
gonna
feel
be
like
another heavy one.
That's a heavy episode that I feel like out of all the episodes, it's one of them that I watch the least. It's just, I understand that they wanted to do this episode and it's good, and we're definitely going to review it. But man, it's kind of a heavy subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But I mean, that's what Quantum Leap would explore and had the ability to explore.
Sure. Yeah.
And-
Right. I mean, I'm not blaming them. I'm not blaming them for doing it, but it's certainly one of the heavier themed, episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
But we're certainly going to cover it right here on Quantum Leap Revisited.
It's true.
And then, I'm trying to see if there was some interesting comments here from people. Did I miss anything?
No, just everybody is saying that lots of plot holes and things that didn't
They
make
even
sense.
have they have the thing where the plot hole emoji.
Yeah.
So Kit Kat says lots of cabins have electrical box outside. Even my house has the electrical box outside.
Must be a
Okay.
California thing because I've only ever seen it in California. Everything else, all that stuff is indoors, either in the basement if you have it, or in the back area of the house, or like near the garage or something. Because you don't want that on the outside because someone outside can tamper with your electrical system. That's why they don't
Right.
do it. Even with demarcation points for service providers, they're under lock and key and they're not always directly on the house, but they're actually inside. And the network connection that's done for the neighborhood is in a big box on the street somewhere else. That's difficult to break into. So it's always weird when you see those things.
Malachi D. Wildman says, in reference to the sniper scene, if she dies, who pays the cop?
Yeah.
Malachi D. Wellman also says, there are missing scene or elements. Something does feel off about it.
Yeah. And it's funny because I haven't noticed it up until maybe, I don't know, 5 episodes ago is when I started to really notice things. They have been doing a lot of overdubbing and replacement of certain lines because towards the end, I think Al was saying something and the woman was saying something in the lake, and you can tell that they weren't actually saying what their mouths was doing.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that happens obviously when things change or, time gets the better of them or whatever, but multiple reasons why that happens. And it would be interesting to find out, like, did they shoot extra stuff? Were they not sure how they were going to end this episode? Did it not work? It worked on paper, but not on screen. So what was that?
Maybe
deal?
it didn't work in the editing suite, so they just decided to loop it afterwards. So yeah, I mean, lots of variations as to why.
I mean, sometimes you have just ADR just because maybe there's noise and wind or something
Sure.
like that.
Yeah,
But I understand what
be.
you're saying, that it doesn't match up.
Exactly, because usually when they do like ADR, and I've seen this on film production, like sometimes on the movie side of things, your actor is in front of a giant screen. They got their headphones on, and they're trying to emulate their lip movement in addition to delivery of the line to make it all match. And television, they're usually in a booth. They're watching it on a smaller screen. And even if they're told, yeah, your lips are not going to match up, but we're just going to cut away to a different angle. This is the line that we need you to say. And they do about 5 or 6 takes of that. They listen back to it to make sure they sound good, and then they move on to the next part if there's needed. But it's definitely a lot less elaborate on television. Even to this day, they still kind of quote unquote phone it in. They just get it down so that they make their day and they can make their release date. But yeah, this season I think has had the most overdubbing of any season we've experienced thus far.
Yeah, I've noticed it a lot.
Rob Nuts. Oh wait, Muroxer says the biggest plot hole in this entire episode is that not one person
See,
was seen wearing a members only jacket.
exactly, missed opportunity.
Tex Roger says, I assume Sam found the detective's gun.
Oh yeah, because
that's why it went under
underwater.
Yeah.
How
I don't
does
know
that
how he
gun
was able to see it in that darkness.
Yeah, how does that gun fire, and how did Sam find the gun? These are good questions. These are very, very good questions.
Yeah, I don't know many models of gun that were able to in the 80s that were able to survive being drenched.
Yeah, there are certainly issues. Certainly issues with this one. For anybody wondering, yes, that was a picture of me with Kiss in 2003, meeting them backstage.
Cool.
Oh,
That's
nice.
good to know. Yeah, now I see it.
I was
It's you
wondering.
with Kiss. Let me see for a second. If we Super Mario Brothers 3, see you change your icon. Looks like Ziggy is going to sleep here or something. I'm going to give the memory banks a kick. Not sure what that means.
That was a line that Al was referring to in the show because he was trying to figure out why Ziggy didn't have an answer to one of Sam's questions.
It's been a long time since I saw this show. Still don't feel much like going back and watching it. It's not the best episode. I mean, it sort of works, but the more I think about it, when we're all kind of picking it apart, the story does have a bunch of issues in it. The writing is really confusing. I wonder what kind of what the episode looked like and what kind of changes they made, because something doesn't feel 100% about it. Or maybe it was just really rushed. You know what I mean? Like maybe they just had to work very quickly and they made a lot of compromises. I don't know.
Probably, yeah.
That's how I feel, especially with the scenes of the kid, looking all disturbed and distressed while mom is out with the control box. They repeated a couple of those shots, so they definitely didn't have enough to extend the drama there. They just kind of repeated some of those shots, and like I said, just the editing was just a little off. It failed to give me that rhythm of telling the story. There, it was just weird.
The dead man says Scott Bakula was going through a divorce at some point. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if the show ended before he got a divorce or not, or it was in the middle, towards the end of the show, or after the show. There were a lot of divorces going on. Even Donald P. Belisario and Deborah Pratt, they divorced, I think, during the 4th or 5th season.
So this was 91. He didn't get divorced until around 95, I think.
But when did Belisario and Deborah Pratt get divorced? This was, I think, in the 5th season or something.
I think it was the last season. So that'd be a year from now is when Don Belisario and them got divorced. Yeah.
But maybe there were things cooking before that. I personally think they should have, held down the fort until the end of the show and only then get divorced. How do you produce a show with your wife and in the middle get a divorce? That just doesn't seem right to me.
Well, I mean, sometimes creative differences get into the home.
The only other case I remember was there was something, I think, Bewitched. I think Elizabeth Montgomery was married to the producer. Was it Peter Asher or one of those?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even No, I don't know if it was Peter Asher. I could be wrong. Haven't thought of these names in ages, but Elizabeth Montgomery was one of the producers with her husband of that Bewitched show or something. Or he was the producer. She was the star. They divorced while they were making the show. Does this make any sense, or am I just dreaming here?
Could be. Yeah.
Probably. I can't remember too much on Bewitched history.
William Asher. And what did I say?
Didn't you say William Asher? I thought you
thought
said
you
Asher.
did.
I know that.
Yeah.
I thought I said William Asher, but
Yeah.
who knows? In any case, Tex Rogers says, yes, it sounds right to me. And if Tex says it sounds right, that means, yeah. Oh, I said Peter, and it was William Asher. Come on, Tex. Peter, William. It's all the same. I'm just kidding, Tex. You're right. It is William Asher. I said Peter Asher.
Tex keeping us real.
Right. There was a guy called Harry Ackerman, and then there was, I guess, William Asher. How did I get to Peter Asher? I don't know. Any case, good work, Tex. You impressed me. It was the most random thing that I know, and then you even managed to kind of fill in the details. Joseph Gordon-Levitt was nominated for Best Young Actor in an Episode, 1993.
That's
for
cool.
this thing?
No, it wouldn't be because this was 91. So
no, it probably was Third Rock from the Sun or one of those things.
Maybe, yeah. Or
because he was on that show
they did right before Third Rock because, yeah.
I remember though that Third Rock from the Sun show. It was a weird show. I know some people really liked it. I was just I had mixed feelings about it. I mean, John Lithgow is a good actor and certainly had a decent cast, but I don't know. I didn't love that show.
It was good for the time, I guess.
I thought it was good kooky.
Yeah. I was surprised because I was used to John Lithgow as a bad guy, and then when he started doing, comedy on the show, I was like a little discombobulated.
I mean, I saw him first in like Harry and the Hendersons, and then as I started watching the show, and then seeing him in like Buckaroo Banzai, and then Cliffhanger, and I was like, oh wait, this guy's got some real good range.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tex Rogers, I have a brother, Peter William. Cool. Marla Sharondoff, some have Scott divorced in 1994. Some say 1995. He met Chelsea in 94 in A Passion to Kill.
Yep, and then that's Chelsea was Tila in the Masters of the Universe movie. And they've been together ever since. Scott, I remember an interview where Scott says he loves her so much, but he's worried about marrying her because of the whole divorce stuff. And then he changed tune in like 2009 and finally sealed the deal after they already had a couple of kids.
Rubnut Scoobla, my dad's name is William. Yeah, that's interesting. 1998 was when he got the 80s, when the 80s got a resurgent with movies like The Wedding Singer, and not so much in the early 90s. I understand that. It's hard once it's the early 90s to immediately celebrate the 80s because it's as if people were getting away from the 80s. They're looking to do something different than the 80s, so maybe they're in such a mindset that they couldn't really think of what made the 80s great because they were all sick of them at that point. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah.
Like, you may not remember it now, but in the 90s, there was this cool feeling of like, okay, we're past the 80s. Now we're cool. We're in the 90s.
Yeah.
In any case, so I guess this is it's not a flawless episode. I was thinking it was serviceable enough, but as I was discussing it and really analyzing it with you guys and with the chat in a way that I hadn't done before, I would even give it less than average. It's not the strongest episode.
Yeah, I want to see what the other episodes are that Scott Bakula directed, just to see if there's any change in his style and organization.
I hope so. I hope that the other ones will be better. I mean, it's always difficult that you're doing your first directing, but I also feel like some of it may not have been his fault. The script itself is kind of flimsy. There's issues with the writing, and I wonder, there's another theory, and it could be completely wrong. It doesn't sound right, but it's a theory that at least I had. Maybe this is all so quickly conjured up. They didn't even have like the time they were in such a rush to film this episode that they almost gave it to Scott Bakula just to throw him a bone when they maybe don't have the director they want, or they don't have the screenplay or the director they want.
Well, they don't usually throw directing gigs as like a bone to actors. The actors usually ask or have negotiated in their contract to get directing opportunities. And the other part too, with TV, it's mostly like directing traffic. The crew knows what to do. They don't really need the director there, sadly. The director's usually there if they have some skill that they can request things of the crew that is a little bit out of their comfort zone, but what they can accomplish to really make an impressive episode. This episode had nothing of that. So this was really like, okay, we have to give Scott at least one episode to direct this season. Which one will do? Well, he either gets to pick if he's negotiated that, or they schedule it out well in advance for him to do it, and then it's up to him to run through the script while he's at the same time memorizing lines or sides for the show he's doing in previous weeks. So I don't know how many weeks beforehand he would have got the script to do his planning, but he'd have to plan it around his own performances in other episodes, which is also a daunting task when you are literally in like 90% of every scene, 90% of the show in every episode. So, I mean, yeah, at this point here, I think it's more of a bad script and limitations by the fact that, again, Scott was only able to direct 3 episodes for the entirety of this series. There's a reason for that, because he is the majority of the show. Like you can't keep doing the directions like that. When you go to something like Star Trek, you got Jonathan Frakes, you got Patrick Stewart, you got Gates McFadden directing multiple episodes because they're part of a larger ensemble cast.
It's an ensemble cast, yeah.
In every scene, every day. It makes things a lot easier.
Well, Malachi D. Wildman says that he directed Roberto and Promised Land, and from what I remember of these episodes, they weren't the best episodes of the show. Then let me see. But Tex Rogers liked Roberto. You know what? It's one that I haven't seen in a long time. And then Super Mario Brothers 3 says John Lithgow cross-dressed in World According to Garp with Robin Williams. I remember that. I didn't like the movie World According to Garp. That movie annoyed me. I know some people like that movie, and I do like Robin Williams.
I can see why.
There's certainly a competent cast within that movie. I just remember I've seen that movie many years ago, and I thought it was super annoying, and I never wanted to watch it again. It's not that it just wasn't such a good movie. It annoyed me. I don't know. That's all I can think of. It's like maybe today I would watch it and think it's great, but you know what? I don't. I remember the certain beats from that movie, and that movie is a movie, I don't know. Script, what do you think of World According to Garp?
I can't remember it.
I just remember that there's a wife that she wants to, his crappy wife wants to have an affair with some student. Today, I don't even think that movie would get made. She has like an affair with a student or something, and then she gives him a special service in his car, and then there's a car accident and something happens. I don't know. It's like traumatic. I don't know why. It's not for me, that movie.
I don't know.
Maybe because of that scene. Like there's one part of it that like it's a turnoff for me. I don't want to watch it.
It's like when Luke throws over the lightsaber over his shoulder effect.
Something like that. The Luke thing is worse, arguably, but yeah, the other thing is just some dumb movie. Caleb Levine says, I remember that it was more than a feeling. I remember the catchphrase of the 90s being, it's the 90s now. Like the 80s were so prehistoric and outdated. Yeah, there was certainly this feeling of like, now it's like the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
And again, right now when we think of the 80s, we think of it fondly, but the 80s were so over the top that I think that at that moment in time, everybody felt that they were very over the top. I mean, all these, it was like everybody was on this trip. I don't really know how to explain it.
The age of excess.
The age of excess. Yeah, it was definitely a trip, the 80s. And I feel like the 90s would like took it in another direction. but it was trying to break away, do like a really hard break from all that other stuff. But I guess I saw some interesting comments. Ron Donafero says this is top of the bottom third in my book. This episode, I don't even know about that. This is more of a lower level episode for me. I would have to think more where to put it, and we'd have to watch the whole series and then maybe start doing these kind of conclusions where I would put it. But it's certainly not. It's below average for sure. It's not in the top half. And even top of the bottom third may or may not be generous. I don't know. Ro, how did you feel about this episode?
Yeah, it was after talking to you guys, it was kind of meh, as they say, as the kids are saying. It was, I think earlier in the chat that we're in, I told you that it was a solid episode, but it just seemed it seemed very off to me, especially coming off of some really good, more solid episodes, I guess. This one is definitely, Rabnad Skubla gives it a D. I give it like a D plus. It's definitely on the bottom of my favorites.
Tex Rogers agree that it's meh.
Yeah.
Agrees that it's meh. And Ron Donafero says a lot of people didn't like Popeye, but I liked it. That is good to know.
We were wondering. Thanks for clearing that up.
The thing is that I think that I've seen that Popeye movie once. I feel like I want to revisit it at some point because I have very little memory of what happens in Popeye. I remember that Robin Williams certainly nails the voice.
Mm-hmm.
He does that well. That totally is in his wheelhouse. I just don't remember much beyond that. Tex Rogers gives it a C minus. Again, this is a lower level episode. Rob Natskula finds it very forgettable. How do you feel about this episode script?
Yeah, I mean, it's the first half of it is pretty well made, but it kind of drops the ball towards the end, so it makes it a less impactful episode. It also has some I like the episodes that have a bit stronger connection with something personal to Sam and or Al. This one just feels like it's such at arm's length. So yeah, this is kind of an empty, kind of almost a filler episode, I would say. It was there to fill a week. It didn't really have any lasting effect afterwards. I think one of the aspects to it was the fact that there's no subplot going on in this episode. It's very a singular plot. And the relationship between Sam and the kid was way too easy. I think that should have been a bit more of a fun exploration because then it would have had meaning. In this one, he's just the guy there to protect his girlfriend and kid.
Yeah. And like I said, it didn't even ring true that he would like that woman to me, but you never know. The Dead Man, it's a filler episode. I agree.
Maybe she's got a lot of money.
They can't all be justice.
Or a lot of talent.
It was there to fill a week.
A male figure for her, male role model for her son will do anything.
That's what I was thinking. Caleb Levine says they probably let Bakula direct because they knew the episode was a turd. It's possible. Can't really say. It does the bare minimum to be an episode. I highly doubt that the one we just saw now is on anybody's list of favorites. And honestly, it's one that I didn't. Once I started watching it again now, I started remembering. But when I think of episodes of Quantum Leap, like the ones that I've seen multiple times or very memorable to me, it's like I barely even remembered. Like probably if I now watch it in another few years, I once again will barely remember it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess I don't think there's too much to go over here. I think it's very straightforward, the episodes. I think that at this point, I just want to look here in our chat, make sure we said hi to everybody and shouted out everybody. And of course, great chat activity. Just it really adds to the fun that I have here. That I enjoy hanging out with you gentlemen, but the fact that we have such a great chat, and that it's not that they're just here making random comments. They're really participating in the discussion and bringing up really good points, and that's really fun.
True that.
So Super Mario Brothers 3, Tex Rogers, Rondon O'Farrell, Marla Sharondoff. And again, if anybody now is in an area in California, I hope you're staying safe. All the stuff that's going on there. Malachi D. Wildman. Kit Kat, Caleb Levine. Trying to go as fast as I can here. The Dead Man.
We're always pleased to see the chat start even before we go live, so it's wonderful.
It is. The Dead Man. Kit Kat, I think I said. I hope I did. Mur Rockstra, who has a photo with Kiss. Robnut Skubla. Robnut Skubla has a very interesting name. I always wonder to myself what it means. It feels like it's maybe he said once it's an anagram, but I don't know what it's an anagram for.
Danbar.
Scribelight was here, and that was nice to see him. Pakasith? Nice to see you. And of course, I assume that Joshua Calkins, Scribelight was here, that Joshua Calkins is going to be watching this after the fact. And then, yeah, I think I pretty much went over everything and everybody. And of course, as usual, if I miss somebody, I'm sorry. But thank you. Robin Skubla, I missed it because of New Year's vacation. I don't know what they missed. Missed Lisa again this week. Yeah, hopefully she'll be here next week. Deborah Pratt actually wrote a book, Quantum Leap Star Child, which would take place after the events of Mirror Image. She wanted to make it a movie, but couldn't since her ex-husband, Don, I guess you were trying to say something. It was one of the best podcasts discussing it. Not really sure what we're talking about, but sometimes that happens. In any case, great hanging out with everybody. Ro is at the Sacrif Podcast. You should check out his podcast and his YouTube channel. Also the Sacrif Podcast, I recall.
Correct.
There was a Sacrif Scuttlebutt, but that's not the name of the YouTube channel.
Just YouTube, go to Sacrif Podcast. I think it's, Sacrif Podcast. And on the Twitters, Sacrif Podcast. We only say Sacrif Scuttlebutt Podcast because of the alliteration, but it's Sacrif Podcast. You'll find it either way.
No, the ones on Spotify, those are easy to find.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Script Doctor, his show Scripts on Saturdays, every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So you should check that out. And his Patreon. And, of course, they're both also on X. You should also check that out. And you know what? Maybe moving forward, I'm going to work out a situation. Maybe somebody will have like a wrench or something. I know Nick sometimes does it. So we can throw in these links in the chat just so you guys know it. Let me see if I can do it even.
Again, you should have them in that back area just ready to go.
You're absolutely right. I am embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that this is the way I run things.
I was going to go back there and clean up.
Well, you do have I think you have administrative rights.
Correct.
Yeah, it says Sacrif Scuttlebutt Podcast. I'm not crazy. I knew it. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. I knew it. I was asking the right question. So right now I'm dropping into our, I hope this works. This is the link to Ro's YouTube. And now let me find your X.
Yes. And, we only do shows on Saturdays. We just do it to hang out and sometimes talk about nerdy stuff. But it would be great for us to get to 500 subscribers. I think we only need 30 or
guys,
something like that.
you guys watching this now, go to Roe's YouTube and give him a like. 500 is an important number because at 500 it helps, take your channel to the next level. So go to his YouTube now. That's the first link I shared. I mean, you can also follow him on X, but go to the YouTube and give him a like. Anybody that's watching here, I usually listen to through Spotify and stuff like that, but it's good also for the YouTube, and it's good, another 30 for his channel is going to be really important. Now I'm going to throw in scripts. I should be doing this like every episode. I think that Nick does it. I just don't even know what I'm doing.
I think I've seen Nick do it, yes.
Yeah, Nick does it. He's better at this than me. But let me do this. First of all, I'm going to drop in here the Script Doctor YouTube. Also, great channel. You guys should check out this show. It's a really, really good show. And I think especially the people that are here in this chat are especially going to like what Script does on his channel. It's that type of thing where there's a big conversation about a script, and especially that it's something currently in a lot of cases that the big studios are considering a script right now, and then Script is going over it.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it cool. So it's interesting to see the mindset of these studios right now and what they're doing, and that's what I think makes Script shows so unique. I'm also gonna find his X for a second.
You don't have to do that, man. It's good. Just at Script Doctor PhD on X. It's underneath my name on the
Listen,
image there.
I'm already doing it. I'm going all in. And then we have Mary White. Thank you, Rhonda Nefero. I guess she was the beneficiary of one of those memberships. So, yep. And nice to see you, Mary White. Thank you for being here. And of course, thank you to Ron Donofero, who did gift people these subscriptions. So that's really cool. So yeah, I finally did something good. I finally shared some links. It took only, I don't know, what number show is this of ours?
Right.
Yeah, it's well, we've definitely passed the 60 episode mark. I know that for sure.
I
Better
think
late
so.
than never.
Better late than never. No, for a long time in our description, I used to put the links. Now I sometimes do it after the fact because I'm in such a hurry when I do the stream, and then only later do I add it. But it's still good. Whatever we did now is good. I feel good about it. And of course, great hanging out with everybody. Thank you to the panel. Thank you to the chat. And I think it's time for us to listen to our outro.
Yes.
All right.
We'll do it right now. So, bye.
See you guys.
I'm such an awesome guy.